about to go green. So drivers have about 40 more seconds to get onto the track, and then we will be away here for round number 5 of 6 at Francorchamps in the Race Department Touring Car Championship 2018. About half the field have made their way onto the track. And we're just waiting for the remaining few drivers. There you go. Look at that lovely full field of drivers as they stare down the empty stop where the lights will be in a moment's time. We are almost going away. There you go. The hour is on the clock. We're waiting for the lights to grow green, and we are away for the 5th time this season. They head up towards turn number 1. Will it remain all clean into turn number 1? It looks like it will. Yakubu's already tried the inside of Lechner. Can't do anything with that. It looks like it's going to be all clean, though, all the way through, and nicely does it for everyone. No, Mike McGear is in the tyre barrier on the outside of turn number 1. Up El Rouge, though, they go. They're all single file now. They're starting to sort themselves out behind. A big wobble from Davy van der Veen as he jumps out the way off the circuit. That's another car in the wall there. I think it's Ross Garland. It is, and a big hit there. A huge hit indeed, as I think that's Paul Hurlow collected from another driver just off the racing line, off the edge of the circuit. But away everyone goes once more. And this is your leading 2 then. Ferdinand Lecter ahead of Ismail Yakubu. We've got just behind a couple of drivers really trying for position. Aki Borstein looking to get up the inside of Tom Lombards. Can't do it at the moment. He's got Patrick Fournier on his rear. In fact, there's contact behind. Toby Kedua disappears behind the grass as he is now facing the wrong way following a little bit of contact, and he falls down the order. Of course, this is an hour-long race. Everyone's pushing like it's a one-lapped race. Look at that. 3 wide they go into Pouon. They all settle themselves out now, out of the corner. And they're now all sorted. A car very slow on the outside of Pouon there. But these are your race leaders are still within half a second of each other as they're coming up to end lap number 1. They've still got a few more turns to do with that, though.
Aki Borstein lost the position in the start. He's currently behind Tom Lombards in 7th position. It's nice to see within the first lap, Ismail is within that DRS zone still as they come to complete the first lap of the race.
Always Aki's now under attack as Patrick Fournier looks to the inside. Can't do anything with that, though, as Lechner does lead the opening lap, though. But it's still rather close from all of your drivers. And if this was Indianapolis, Lechner would have already gained a second gap. So keeping it close already as drivers are trying their absolute hardest to gain as many positions as possible in this opening stages. But I just don't think that's a smart idea. I see Steve Legale diving to the inside of Ronnie Baweem. Can't do anything. He goes very slowly on exit. Polgar goes around on the outside. He's now side by side with Ronnie Baweem as they head up towards Rouge. Who's going to come out on top? It is Polgar, and Baweem sits it behind. He can't do anything with that. Looking for a better exit, though. He's going to move to the left. They disappear behind the trees. He's on the left-hand side. Steve Legale behind as well. Look at this. They go 2 by 2, just like Noah's Ark.
Van Vern is making a move as well.
Look, this is absolutely fantastic as they're all just going through, and it's going to be Baweem ahead. David van der Veen has jumped Steve Legale in that as well, and through he goes. And that was a great battle for position. And with that, actually, I wondered where Polgar disappeared to. He's out of this race, as is Ross Garland, Andrew Harper, and Paul Hurlow. 4 retirements, and we're only 1.5 laps in.
Oh my! Oh yeah, well spotted. I completely Toby Kedder is still going, so I imagine there's been some kind of incident which we've missed. But Toby Kedder is currently in 32nd position and approximately 6 seconds behind Mike Gear.
There is still a battle for that top 10. Then it's Manuel Alvarez is chasing down Joel Kuzman for 9th, but it's Matt Legale all over the rear here in your number 12 machine, sitting in P number 11. He's got Charles Baccio behind him and Ollie McGowan, but they're not really pressuring him too much because Matt Legale can focus his entire attention to Manuel Alvarez ahead. In fact, he moves to the left-hand side for going through Blanchimont, and it looks like he's going to be able to gain that position. They're going to go through. There's contact as they come through. It's somehow Manuel Alvarez remains ahead of Matt Legale. Has to back out of it up towards chicane though, and Legale remains behind. Somehow they're both facing the right way. Not anymore, because around goes Manuel Alvarez. He reverses. What on earth is he doing? Very dangerous getting back onto the circuit there. Reverses right onto the racing line.
Well, you can't. Yeah, what is he doing? Sorry, I'm having difficulties with my controls right now. They're not changing cars.
See, that's what I was having at the end of practice. I told you, it's not just me. I think it's the servers that is running on. Yakubu, though, is still over the rear of Lechner. In fact, they've pulled a almost 4-second gap over Tobias Rona, and that's important because Rona sits third in championship, so he's going to be wanting to finish third in this race. Sevagangas, he sits fourth in the race, is fourth in the championship. Also, the only driver in the top 5 not currently in your top 5 is Mur, and that's because he's not in the race.
Yeah, Ross Garland, you know, out of this race, I don't think he had an incident at the last race as well, and I know he wasn't particularly pleased about whatever that incident was last time round, so he may not be best pleased with what's happened today. As Aki Borstein, I can't tell who I'm on board with right now. I'm really struggling with this control. I think I'm watching Robert Semenenges being chased by Jeremy Mook. Actually,
no. If anything, you'd be on board with Robert chasing Tobias for battle for P3.
I'm on board with Aki.
Right, okay, that's a completely different battle altogether there.
It's not, my thing's not switching
No,
properly.
see, that's what I was having before, and it crashed my entire internet, which is why we had to go away for a moment at the very beginning of that race. But there is a battle and an overtake looming for P number 3. It's going to be Robert Sevagangas on the outside of Blanchimont, looking to get past Tobias Rona for P3. He's going to be on the inside into the chicane. It looks like he has got that position in the bag. Very nicely done from Sevagangas. He now sits ahead of Rona. Remember, these two are tied on points in the championship, so whoever finishes ahead of the other guy, they're going to be ahead in the championship heading into the final round of this season in 2 weeks' time at the Nordschleife. But that battle for P number 6, which you were looking on, has turned into a battle for P number 5, as Jeremy Mook is now being hunted from Tom Lombards. So that is the battle that is starting to loom, as we've still got a lot of cars gaggled together in your midfield, including right at the very back. In fact, there's contact between Magnus Sternberg and Ollie McGowan into turn number 1. McGowan takes to the inside and slows completely down to avoid any more contact. Rona is back through past Sevagangas after along Camel Straits and in towards Les Combs.
Yeah, we got Joel Kuzman right on the back of Charles Baccio, I'm going to say.
Baccio, yes.
Baccio, yeah, in 10th position. Joel last time out had a pretty eventful race, as Joel does. You know, has amazing moments, but I think he's always on the edge and tends to then have a spin somewhere. We had an incident last time out as well, didn't we, Joel? With someone entering the pits, I think, as well. That was an unusual situation.
No, wasn't that Portimao with Lorenzo Bonda crashing into pit lane? I think that was.
In my memory about, you know, getting the pit stops wrong.
Joel drove through pit lane 3 times in that one.
Somebody had an incident coming into the backstretch. We think they opened the DRS, and that might have been Bram, actually, thinking about it. It was Bram, wasn't it? Yeah.
Who opened DRS and then spun around? Yeah, I think Bram was definitely one of those.
So it was an eventful race last time out. As Tom Lombards in 6th position with DRS is over the back of Jeremy Mook in 5th as they come down to the bus stop chicane.
A little bit of a wobble, in fact, coming out.
A little bit of a moment there, but Jeremy's nicely closing off the inside line as they come through the bus stop chicane. And he gets the power down a lot better than Tom did there. So as we come into the first corner now, sharp right-hander you know, depending what car you're in, you can take this in second or first. If you want to get the power down, second tends to be the better gear. As he opens up DRS again, as I'm on board with Tom, as I come to Eau Rouge, and now this is where DRS is really going to kick in. As long as you've got the gears right.
Running off the circuit a little bit up the top end of Rouge, and you've got to be careful, of course, with track limits, something that can give you penalties in the race. But look at this slipstream from Lombard, moves to the right, dives to the left, a great fake there, as he was also covered off from Mook, but around the outside he's now going to try. They run side by side. It's going to be Lombard's on the inside, a little bit of contact, both of them almost off the circuit. They get on through, back onto track once more. They've got Borgstein and Fournier now all over their tail.
Yeah, exactly, this is it. You've got Fournier watching from far, but Aki's right on them at the moment.
And Jeremy tried to get back up the inside of Tom, couldn't quite make the move, and he's now on the outside of the corner with no name, but he switches to the left as Tom gets back on the circuit, forces him to the left-hand side. Aki Borgstein all over the rear, trying to get involved in this as hard as he can, but it's going to be Jeremy Mook on the inside line. They're 3 wide, going through a little bit of contact. Out on top comes Aki Borgstein, then it's Jeremy Mook, and here comes Patrick Fournier to go on the outside of Tom Lombards as well. Tom Lombards has gone from the front of this queue to the back of this queue in just one turn.
Great driving, lads. Absolutely great, superb driving. You know, I was really worried for Aki there because I thought two drivers in front. Oh.
This is a great 4-car battle at the moment for P number 5. It's Borgstein that leads the way ahead of Mook, Fournier and Lombards, and Borgstein really took advantage of that. He tried his hardest to get his nose in, and it worked. And Lombards, where on earth is he going there? Off the circuit, as he gets too much over the curbing on the inside. He's really starting to fall off this battle, and that's not what you need. Only 10 minutes into the race, you're going to want to stick with the guy in front of you as long as you possibly can as they come up towards the timing line to go on to yet another new lap, and something we haven't been looking at since the start of the race, a couple of laps in, would be the gap between your leaders. It's now 3 seconds that's starting to pull away from Yakubu in this.
Yeah, and then Robert Savinges is a couple of seconds behind Ismail as well. But I'm showing obviously nearly 6.5 seconds between Tobias Rona in 4th and Jeremy. Well, now it's Jeremy Mook, so he's just gone into 5th position. So as he's gone past Aki by using DRS, but behind these two, you know, this group of 4 here, not far behind, we've got the likes of Matt Legale and Charles Bacchio and Joel. So those 3 can pull themselves closer.
I want to say, yeah, they're not too far behind, but at the same time, in relation to how close these guys are, a quarter of a second. 4 seconds is quite a big gap, and it's going to be still a hunt for Matt Legale to push up, because Matt's not had the best of seasons, the best of luck this year, definitely compared to how well he's been in previous leagues and how well he does in club events as well. It's a shame that he's not able to come out on top, and in fact, going into Indianapolis, he was in 5th position in the championship. He's lost that out following that incident, of course, which pretty much ruined his race, and then he obviously got collected by Ross Garland with that as well. So he's now outside that top 5, and it's not really turned out to be the second half of this season that he would have hoped for.
No, true, and as you say, I mean, you know, 4 seconds is a lot of time, but when you've got, you know, 3 drivers in close proximity to each other, or 4 drivers in close proximity to each other even, anything can happen, and as long as he's in the hunt, you know, if there's an incident, you know how quickly you could lose places, especially as you know, 47 minutes to go. As Patrick Fournier has a little bit of look behind Aki Borgstein and decides better off it, but Aki is right behind Jeremy Mook again. As we come in, you know, it's just what's the it's just flipping from one to the other, isn't it? Because if Aki's now in 6th position with DRS, Jeremy's going to lose 5th position. Next lap, same's going to happen again, the other way around.
Indeed it is. That's the thing with DRS being available to these drivers, is you are going to be able to use it to really gain those positions. And in a train like this, the moment you start to drop off the back of it, you're going to be gone. And you can see that from Tom Lombards. Look at that. He starts off really fall off the back as there's an overtake for P number 3. And it's just like what you said, DRS, it switches it around to Barcelona. able to get past Robert Savagangas along the Camel Straight.
Patrick's having a look though, isn't he? Patrick is, and then he's just lost position to Tom Lombards because he's got it a little bit wrong on the entrance to that corner. So now he's
yeah, go
so
through
Patrick's
Tom.
Now in 8th position. So, but he's right behind Tom. So, yeah, it's amazing how quickly, you know, you're on the attack, but if it doesn't quite work, you then have to go on the defensive immediately, and you lose out.
And they've sort of dropped off a little bit from what is now a 2-car battle at the moment for P number 5. Jeremy Mook still leading it. He's got Aki Borkstein just behind, but they're going to be coming up towards the end of this lap now. Borkstein, I feel like he's going to be able to find a way through before the end of this lap, surely, if not at the start of next lap. DRS, of course, will help him get through along Camel Straight. But here they go at the bottom end of the circuit, and look how close Aki Borkstein is running over the rear end of Jeremy Mook. He's not even worrying how close he is, because if Mook just come onto the brake a little bit earlier, that would have been both of them off into the wall. But here goes Borkstein on the left-hand side, through Blanchimont they come. And through goes Borkstein, moves to the right-hand side of the circuit as well to fend off from Mook. And Mook trying his hardest. He's going to look for a way back on the inside. But no, he's going to go back to the racing line. He says, okay, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to get the DRS. You've just allowed me to have that. And then I'm going to get back through along Camel Straight. Pit lane has now opened for drivers to complete their mandatory stops.
And meanwhile, you've got Robert Savingengas is within 300 seconds behind Tobias Rona as they come up to Eau Rouge, where he's going to have DRS, so I'm expecting a move to take place here.
Oh, definitely indeed. They've been swapping around just back and forth like yo-yos right now. And here goes Savagangas on the left-hand side, and through he goes. There's absolutely nothing that you can do without DRS here. And look at that, Rona just knows he has to slip in back into line. And here is Borkstein behind Mook once more through. Lombards
as Tom Lombards makes a move on Patrick Fournier.
No, Lombards was already ahead. So really it's Fournier trying to get past Lombards. And Fournier almost off the circuit and trying around the outside. Lombards doing a great job in defending there.
And Steve Legale just gets past Ronnie Boehm, and Ronnie Boehm gets back, but there's contact between the two, and Steve Legale is round. So that's a very difficult position now for him, because Steve needs to try and not interfere with the rest of the cars coming up on him. Michael Clean is 4 seconds away, but he's stuck in that position there, Steve, unfortunately. He's losing positions.
Well, he's very, he's found his way back on in a very tricky location.
Yeah.
So great job for him to doing that cleanly as well.
For me, it looked like a bit of a racing incident. I don't know what you thought.
Well, I only caught the very end of it. I never actually saw the original contact with that. So I can't actually give my opinion on it. But the way that Steve just went around, it definitely looked like it was just a tap. And of course, the collision box in R3E, it's not the best of collision boxes to try to have a little bit of a tap with another driver on, and you can really risk being thrown off the circuit with it. So I'm not surprised that a small little incident could cause someone to go around. Luckily he's back on circuit though. Even though he is all the way down in P21, he is still going once more, and that is Patrick Fournier going very deep into the bus stop chicane, and he's going to really sacrifice his run with Tom Lombards. In fact, I think he may have just fallen out of DRS range going across the line, but I am not 100% certain with that. Lombards still very close to Borkstein and Mook, as that has remained in the same order. I think Borkstein's learned his lesson. He's decided, I'm going to get DRS this time, and I'm going to get past you on the Camel Straight.
Yeah, but and then it's all about if Aki goes wide there on Rouge. She definitely went beyond the limits of the circuit, as then Tom Lombards goes sweeping past because of the mistake that Aki made. So now into 7th position.
Yeah, Aki, not what he needed from that, and I'm sure he'll now try to recompose himself, get back into the fight. He doesn't really have someone to look into the rear mirror towards, though, because Patrick Fournier has definitely dropped off of that, and he certainly did not get DRS from Lombard this time by, and that's going to really benefit Bulkstein because now he can focus entirely in front of him. A little bit of a wobble, but he is all over the rear of Tom Lombard, and he'll be trying to get back in to P number 6. With how close he is, though, he could try for the double overtake along Camel Straight next time, but look how close these three are in their battle for P5. To the outside goes Bulkstein, but Lombard defends off.
The problem is here, it's trying to get past in these sections, isn't it? That's the struggle in the high downforce elements. If you've got, you know, depending on your car setup, what you're like. I mean, I tend to like a higher downforce. I like to go, you know, I like to sweep through the corners. But the problem is that you sacrifice down the straights. But with DRS, it's not such a big issue, as long as you're in with that 1 second.
In fact, goes through, goes Tom Lombard.
With Jeremy Mook, yeah. But you know, but now this is the thing. Is that too early? Are you just going to be a sacrificial lamb now on the next bit? Because we're going to the bus stop chicane.
Big incident. Around goes Tom Lombard. He started to slide it. Nothing Mook could do there. Just trying to take the racing line. Lombard has found his way back straight once more, but he's all the way down to P number 10. And now it's going to be Bulkstein looking to get past Mook. He's got Fournier all over his rear as Fournier is introduced back into this battle. And in fact, Matt Legale is now only about a second and a half behind.
Look, anything, like I said a couple of laps ago, anything can happen as they go.
Oh my, what on earth happened there? Aki Bulkstein, a big hit with the wall through a rouge.
I was kind of, I don't, like you mentioned, like race room's got the box around the cars. It didn't look like to me that they made contact. But
they were too far apart.
Yeah. So I don't really know. I wasn't on board with either driver, so I don't really know what happened there.
As Patrick Fournier moves up to P5, Mook down to P6, that is Aki Bulkstein's battle for the top positions just gone.
Unbelievable. I have no idea what happened there. Jeremy Mook in 6th position is right on the tail of Patrick Fournier in 5th. You know, we're seeing some great racing here in the top 10.
But that is not at all what we were expecting in just a lap. Two of the top runners have gone around and crashed, and it's certainly not what Bulkstein would have wanted with how... Oh, there's a big slide there from Mook, but he holds it somehow.
Great correction. He just reacted to that immediately. I'm on board with him, and yeah, great skills there, Jeremy. Unbelievable. That was me, I would have spun.
If this was me, I would have been one of the 4 to retire on the opening lap of the race.
It's just, you know, it's intense. I mean, this is the thing, is it's about mental ability. It's about mental concentration. And, you know, and that for me is where my, you know, I did an online race last week in the F1 and I got up into 6th position and unfortunately, you know, made a mistake.
Dive down pit lane goes Jeremy Mook,
yes.
Very early. Is he going for a 2-stop maybe?
Well, you know, thing is, I've spoken about this. We length with you the other week, didn't we? And you were going, no, it's got to be single stop. But you just never know, because I think the tyres do go. And a couple of races we've had, it's where, you know, people have lost 4 or 5 positions in the last couple of laps because their tyres have lost the grip. So why not try something different?
Overtake once more for P number 3. Savagangas once again past Tobias Rona. But I feel like Jeremy Mook trying to do a 2-stop. We saw the 2-stop in these races with a mandatory stop. The last time I feel like we saw a 2-stop from a competitive driver would have been Anders Murr in the RDTCC last time on Race Room at Silverstone, the opening round of that race, and he was able to pull it back right near the end, but he would have been in a higher position if he had done a single stop. So I think that's why no one's done a 2-stop since then, and I just don't feel like it's going to benefit Mook. Maybe it's just a very early stop for a 1-stop, and he's going to be pushing that second stint as far as he possibly can.
Well, you know, maybe though, if you think about it, right? So if you're you know, when you're a team or a driver, you know, when I set myself out for a race, I think my aim is normally to finish in the top 10, right? And that's where I want to aim for. So maybe Jeremy's looking at this pragmatically, going, I'd be happy with a top 8 finish perhaps. But he feels in order to do that and to give him that shot at doing that, that a two-stop may because as we've seen a couple of instances, and people are losing positions left, right, and centre. So if you want to stay on the track, you want some rubber. It may pay. You know, we just look. I'm just hype. You know, just throwing a theory out there, and it may work for him.
It may work for him indeed. Apart from the fact, if you look on your left-hand side of the screen, he's down in 14th. And I feel like that's too far behind to really... I feel like he's lost so much from that. I think he's actually lost too much from that to... If he is doing a second stop from when everyone else is doing a one stop, he is sitting, what, 30 seconds off of that... No, sorry, 25 seconds off of that battle that he was in before. So he's got to gain 25 seconds if he is doing a two-stop. And I just don't think that's going to be possible, even with having, obviously, fresher tyres for the large majority of this race.
I get what you're saying, and I take on your point, but...
you don't agree with me?
I don't know, like, overall position, you know, maybe about 4th if it stays as it is and everybody else pits. I reckon he'll come out around about 4th or 5th. But like you say, if he then goes in for another one and everybody else stays out, then it may not pay off. I do get your point, but at the same time, as we've seen with the tyres and the contact that's happened, and we look at Aki as a prime example. You know, he's now down in 11th position, and only 4 laps ago, he was battling for 5th.
That's very true. We're almost halfway through this race now, so really I think we'll be starting to see a lot more people start to dive down pit lane. But I don't know what we're going to see with start strategy. What I can think is maybe what he's done, what Mook's done, is put less fuel in at the start. And what he's decided is, I'm going to have a lighter car, and that will gain me enough time, because he was battling strong with those positions. And his early stop comes around where he kept on exchanging positions with DRS. It could just be a strategy call of, let's stop giving the other driver DRS. Let's make him run in his own for a bit.
And as we're talking, he's just caught up with John Patterson. He was 2.5 seconds behind John Patterson and he's now moved up to 13th already, and he's just gone past him. You know, John didn't hold him up, to be fair. I think he just let him past because he's not racing with him.
May I also just say, Matt Legale's got up to 5th, past Fournier.
When did that
and Lombards. And Charles Baccio is involved in that fight as well now. So it's once again a 4-car fight for P5, where only 2 of those drivers were the same as what we saw a while ago. But somehow Tom Lombard's back in this fight, bearing in mind he obviously went around at the final chicane.
So, at the moment, we've got Robert Savangas has just overtaken Tobias Rhoda for 3rd. That's just happened into the...
oh, yeah, that's happening every single lap, is that overtake for that. They just are running together. And it's really good because they're not hindering each other, because they're not fighting one another through the turns. They're just waiting till the straights, using DRS, going for the overtake. And I don't think they'll really start to fight until the end.
Yeah, Patrick Fournier overtakes Matt Legale in the same position. It's just DRS zone. But Matt is having a little sniff behind him and applying pressure. And he goes on the inside. And a great move there. He makes that stick. So if he can now pull away through the next section and get out of the DRS zone, he could be sitting pretty in 5th position. Where did that come from?
I don't know where it came from, but I don't think they'll be able to gain out of the DRS zone from these guys. Just right here and then.
Nearly a second ahead of Patrick Fournier.
Actually, you are right. The issue is, though, of course, that timing line comes just after the slowest part on the circuit. So it really doesn't benefit Matt in that sense.
He's got Tom Lombards to worry about behind him.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly. I think Matt Legale has now broken away from that DRS range, even from the slipstream range even.
Hold ya.
And yeah, that is definitely positioned to Matt Legale. Look at that gap already, because Patrick Fournier is completely under attack from Lombards and Baccio behind. From now, what is a 3-car battle for P6 as Legale just pulls away.
I mean, he's now got a 20-second gap between him and Tobias Rona in 4th. That is quite an extensive gap, but you know, further up the field, Ismail was only 9 seconds.
Oh, big hit into the wall behind. Big hit. Joel Kuzmin through and out of Blanchimont. slams into the inside wall. He gets back on circuit. Will we see him come down pit lane? Yes, we will. And same with the car behind of Aki Borkstein. So is Tobias Rona. In fact, Rona now comes out of pit lane. Where will he come? He's going to come right behind 2 guys, 3 guys in fact. That's really going to help him actually, because it's going to give him slipstream, DRS. He's side by side with Charles Baccio. Will he remain ahead going up towards Rouge? I don't know. My camera's not changing. No, Baccio is ahead. Rona's going to stay behind, but that's not too bad for him, because it still is. He's now able to get DRS and slipstream. He's just probably hoping these guys don't slow him up too much.
It just, yeah, I mean, Charles Baccio, no offence, I've never heard of the guy. Where's he come from in 6th position? Jeremy Mook, who's the earliest guy to pit, is currently now in 9th with that round of pit stops. Though, you know, my prediction of him ending up in 4th or 5th position when these rounds of pit stops finish, it's looking pretty sweet.
Oh, to the inside of Fournier goes Charles Baccio, as Fournier runs slightly wide through goes Baccio, and now Rona will be thinking, how is he going to get past Fournier? Goes a bit too far on the inside curbing. He still remains just behind at the moment, but now Baccio is ahead of these guys as well, and he might be able to start to close up to that fight with Matt Legale, as they've been pushing up pretty much together up this field. But will Rona be able to find his way past Fournier here? We shall see. No, he's not quite able to at the moment, remains behind, but he'll definitely be able to do it come the Blanchimont section.
Mike McGear is having a very, very long pit stop here in 27th position, so I don't know if he's deciding to retire or
I feel I've already seen Mike McGear down pit lane once already this race, and is that 2 additional retirements? Have we now gone to...
Ronnie Boehm and Lorenzo Bonda, yeah, as Mike McGear leaves pits. So, yeah, it looks like we've had a couple of retirements, yeah.
Oh, and that is from 2nd position, Yakubu down pit lane. He's now coming out. Where will he come out in relation to Tobias Rona? There's Yakubu.
Tobias Rona's in the... oh, sorry, Robert Savagagos is in 3rd, he's in the pits.
Yep.
Tobias Rona is just coming into the first corner now.
So that is really relation to everyone with the pit stops, because look at that jump Savagagos has had, as he's not had to fight anyone. Rona has. And that is, what, 3 seconds between them?
Yeah, and Robert Savagagos is 10 seconds behind Ishmael in 3rd position. So, again, like last time out, the pit stops are kind of taking things up a little bit. There's not really any close racing except for Charles Baccio behind Tobias Rona, but even that's a second now.
A lot of drivers down pit lane then, as you can see on your left-hand side. The red dots means they are yet to visit pits. The green dots means that they have already pitted, and someone I completely missed down pit lane would have been Ferdinand Lexner. I did not even realise that he had come down pit lane, retained the lead, and left, and is still leading by over 10 seconds ahead of Yakubu.
As he just overtakes a back marker. I think
that Mike McGear, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because there's so much action in this race that, you know, what's happening up there is really uneventful. No offence to him.
But it is. They've just sort of, the gap's slowly been increasing between them, and we're just getting this lovely shot of the forest. I hope you guys enjoyed that. As we're coming up to looking at this battle between 14th, 15th, 16th, most of the field have now come down pit lane. Of course, we're over halfway through. We're yet to see Charles Baccio, however, come down pit lane. He sits in 5th. We're yet to see Dan Long come down pit lane. He's in 6th. We're yet to see Piotr Blasasak come down pit lane. He's in 14th. We've got Fenwick and Magnus and Kenwood all the way down in 26th position. He's yet to come down pit lane. In fact, he's down pit lane right this moment.
As we got Matt Legale in 10th position as we got round the backside of the circuit. He's going to line up Patrick Fournier. Whether he'll make the move now or whether he'll wait until you know, the back straight after Eau Rouge remains to be seen as he closes up. As Patrick Fournier.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you right now, because this battle right here for P14, 15, 16, 3 cars Very close. In fact, Ollie McGowan is looking to gain through. And McGowan's was so surprising last time out at Indianapolis. Fell down the order after being in the top 6 at one point in the race. He's looking to gain up in higher than 15th position. He's right behind Piotr Blasek at the moment. Toby Kadua just behind that. He moves to the inside of Blasek. Dan Long is now down pit lane, but here comes McGowan on the inside of Blasek. Will he be able to hold it? It'll be the outside through the left-hander of the bus stop chicane. Gets the power down and through he goes. Fantastic overtake indeed. And in fact, Toby Kadua now looks towards the inside of Le Source.
As you look at the facts in front of Piotr's car, it looks like he's had an off at some point. He's got a little bit of aero damage there.
Yeah, but Piotr has gone off into, I think it was, I think he was one of the drivers went off in the opening lap. I think he hit.
Dan Long has ended up in this little battle as he comes out of the pits. So that's most unfortunate for him. So.
Luckily for Long, actually, he's at the front of this battle. So he hasn't got to come out of pit lane. And 1 minute, look on the left-hand side. It's still a red dot for Dan Long.
Oh, he hasn't come out of the pit, so...
No, Dan Long is out of the pits. He's leading this, but it's not classed as his mandatory stop. He obviously hasn't fulfilled the requirements of the mandatory stop.
Oh, and we still got Carlos Baccio in 5th position. He hasn't done his mandatory pit stop either.
Well, he hasn't actually come down pit lane, but Dan Long has come down pit lane and still has not done his mandatory stop.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he came out of the pits.
He did. He was down pit lane. It's just that it hasn't classed it as a stop for him. With the, I think the mandatory stop is 2 tyres must be changed. Did he not do that? I'm not too sure. Maybe he forgot to do something down
I remember talking to Joe after one of the last races, and he pitted, and the game didn't register his stop correctly. So he said. So that could be what's happened here. It's hard to know.
Maybe so, but there was a big battle between Dan Long and Ollie McGowan. If you look in the rearview mirrors, we ride on board with McGowan as well. You can see Toby Kedua and Piotr Blasek battling away as well for 15th and 16th. But this is for 13th and 14th on board with Ollie McGowan chasing down Dan Long in his first race of the season here at the penultimate round. Looks towards the inside of Blasek, but you can hear McGowan actually came off the throttle ever so slightly, heading up towards the braking point now. Charles Baccio has done his mandatory stop. To the outside goes McGowan as Long goes defensive. They're side by side, a big slide. Long's down pit lane once more. McGowan almost under attack from Toby Kadua, but that was also Joel Kuzmin down. No, not Joel Kuzmin. Who else was that came down pit lane with Dan Long? I'm sure someone came down pit with him. It was Piotr Blasek down pit lane again. So I'm not too sure why he's come down pit lane, but it looks like his mandatory stop was not counted either. Maybe, a little bit too far for him. Dan Long away, a very quick stop indeed. Will it count this time? Yes.
He's in 18th position now. So I'm just it seems that Ross Garland actually ended the race due to his own incident. He had 2 instances, and he eventually damaged his gearbox because of the contact he made. So on lap 1 and 2, so that's why he.
Right, I was going to say, didn't he retire from the race on that opening lap because he had the massive crash at the top of
well, he turned it round and he managed to. He had a bit of damage, but then he's on lap 2. He on Rouge again. He's lost it again on the same spot, and yeah, that ended his race.
That is a real shame indeed. 6 retirements in this race, as we are now 37 minutes in, and in fact everyone has completed their mandatory stops now. Everyone still in this race has done their mandatory trip to pit lane, and therefore this is your order going in to the final 20 minutes of the race. Is Lechner leading the way, 12 seconds ahead of Yakubu. Then got Sevagangas. So he's got a couple of seconds to roan up, but it has closed up a little bit since their pit stops. Then Mook is in a 5th position, but will we see him down pit lane for a second time? If so, he will surely be down pit lane within the next few minutes, as he came down to stop 20 minutes into the race. We then have Lombards in 6th, Matt Legale in 7th, Charles Baccio 8th, Borkstein in 9th, and Davy van der Veen is sitting in a top 10. That's fantastic, bearing in mind he was actually rather far down the order in about 20th position during qualifying. So he's really moved his way up and now into a top 10 following the pit stop stages. So the 2 Belgium drivers in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, so Joel's having a really strong race there, and Aki is was being very closely followed by Davey in 10th, but the gap seems to have grown a little. But it's so it'll be interesting to see how that battle ends up. And Ollie McGowan is having a good race as well in 14th position. There are a couple of battles now starting to evolve, but I'm interested to see if Tom Lombards is going to catch Jeremy Moot, because as you say, what's he planning to do? Is Jeremy planning to stay out, or is he looking to do another pit stop? Because if he did do another pit stop, he'd probably come out, I reckon, about 15th, 16th position.
Well, I'm not too sure about that actually, because by the look of it, pit stops are really only about 25 seconds, maybe 30. So, well, depending on if you've got a slow stop. So really, I don't think he'll come all the way back there. He probably will come out just outside the top 10, but I don't think 15th or 16th. I feel like that's a bit too far behind. We shall see, though, because, of course, he was in 20th position after he did... Wasn't he in 20th position after he did the first stop? Yes,
yeah,
after he did his first stop. So it will still be interesting to see when and if he does come down pit lane for a second time. He's still out on circuit right now as we head into the final 20 minutes. A little bit of a wobble coming out of that final chicane though, and Lombards is closing time hand over fist right now. Mook is definitely at a disadvantage on his tyres, and I think it would benefit him to come down into the pits right now.
But while we were talking about that, we got Dan Long in 18th, closely following Magnus Steinby in 17th, and then who's closely followed Michael Klein in 16th. So we've got a three-way battle here as we're coming down to the back part of the circuit.
To the left-hand side goes Sternbury then of Klein. Through there goes, and in fact, here comes Dan Long to follow through into Blanchimont. Fantastic indeed. And Klein falls behind both of them. Almost nothing you can do in that scenario, though. Heading under the brakes, and they all get through nice and cleanly. And yes, they do. So now it is Sternbury ahead of Long, ahead of Klein. But of course, Sternbury's not going to have any DRS go onto this lap. It's going to be handed to Long and Klein.
Yeah, as we come into the infamous first corner on Spa, one of my favourite circuits, though I'm pretty slow around here, as Michael Klein gets his rear end a little bit, so he loses a bit of time there, unfortunately for Michael. So, but he's still going to have the DRS behind Dan Long as they go through Eau Rouge. Dan's already making the move there early on. As Magnus Steinby moves to the right, Dan's on the left, and it's just easy pickings. But where's Michael Klein? That's
too far back.
Magnus is going to be worrying about. Yeah, but you know, he's still got to be aware whereabouts he is on circuit. So that's currently Dan Long in 16th, Magnus in 17th, and Michael Klein in 18th position. But he's very close to Magnus as he takes the right hand into the corner and doesn't. Oh no, I think he looked like I think he could have made that if he went.
Well, I think he could have. It's more about, do you have the balls to go up the inside of someone, risk having an incident, losing even more positions. Well, 18th position, it's certainly not the greatest of places to be in, but it's not last. It's still in the race, and you don't want to risk that, do you? You want to get a finish, and definitely bearing in mind that every position, one position change will be 1 points change. It's such a tight championship that every position counts.
Yeah, so that's allowed Dan Long to get a bit of a 2-second gap while these two continue to battle, and I'm sure Michael will use the DRS to its full effect as we come round to the back section of the circuit.
And up towards Blanchimont, then it is going to be Dan Long pulling away in 16th, obviously following his 2 pit stops within 2 laps. Magnus Sternbury is now dropped behind in 17th. He's got Michael Klein all over his rear. Of course, Sternbury, no DRS. Klein does have DRS, but I doubt he'll be using it right about now. Maybe out of the final chicane as they head on through. Sternbury really going defensive. Really, that's given Klein a faster run through. A bit of a slide, but Sternbury putting his foot down and pulling away from Klein as they head across the line. Back up towards the front of the field, though. We've got Matt Legale and Charles Baccio battling in 7th and 8th position respectively, as they're really starting to they've really pushed up the order together, actually. Both of them outside the top 10, and they've worked together side by side going up the field, and they're now in 7th and 8th position. About a second between them, and only about 3.5 seconds behind Tom Lombards, who in turn is about 1.5 seconds behind Jeremy Mook, who we're still yet to see come down pit lane for a second time, if he is in fact going to come down pit lane for a second. But I can't see any advantage to him staying out on circuit on those worn tyres.
No, it's a very thin line, is it, between when's the right decision to come in. I mean, you've got Tom Lombards is what, a second and a half behind him right now. But I mean, that hasn't come down immensely in the last few laps, but it is definitely coming down. And then behind Tom Lombards is the next car is nearly 4 seconds behind, which is Matt Legale. So who's got Charles Bascio to keep him company? So you know, he's got his hands full. So you tend to find that you're looking back rather than looking forward when you've got a car that close. So Jeremy may just want to stay up there and sit pretty.
I think that the gap between himself and Lombards has definitely remained they're about the same since Lombards' pit stop, and definitely as there's no DRS or slipstream being taken advantage from either one of them, it's remained at that gap. And the fact is that Jeremy Mook pitted after 20 minutes. Most drivers pitted after half an hour, and that means his tyres, really, they'll be going for another 10 minutes before everyone else would have decided this is enough on these tyres. But if he's not going to do another stop, that's 40 minutes on one set of tyres. It can be done, but you're really pushing a line with your tyre wear, and it's going to be interesting to see whether he's going to be able to hold it. And definitely through the slower corners, you can see Lombards does close that gap between them, and I think that's just because he's got better grip than Jeremy does. Definitely bearing in mind that Tom Lombards pitted 10 minutes after Mook did.
So yeah, I think you're right. It's a tough call. You know, 40 minutes on the same set of tyres is a long time. But we're not on board with him all the time. We don't know how hard he was pushing in that stint. You could potentially hold back and just have that bit of grip. You don't need, when you've got fresh rubber on, you don't need to push that hard per se, because everybody else has got none. So like, you know, he could just be making them last.
He really could, but the gap now between Mook and Lombards is under a second, and if that remains the way it is going across timing line, Lombards is going to have DRS, and he's going to be able to get past Mook along Camel Straight. So out of the final chicane they come. What will be the gap? That is certainly under a second between the two of them as they go across the timing line. So Tom Lombards, this should just be nice and easily just open the DRS and let that do all the work for him as they head up towards Rouge. He'll be able to open, well, drop down the rear wing, which will reduce the drag and get him a little bit faster. Plus the slipstream from Mook has already allowed him to close up through Rouge. There you go, DRS will now be open and moves to the left-hand side, nice and smooth. Sticks to the left-hand side, and he is going to be able to fly by past Jeremy Mook.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting now, because not far behind then we've got Matt Legale and Charles Bascio and Aki Borstein, you know, within, you know, 8 seconds of him. So 13 minutes to go. What does he do?
He's certainly trying his hardest to stay with Tom Lombards. I don't feel like he's going to make that choice to come down pit lane. I feel like he's going to lose out more if he comes down pit lane now, and even if he only loses 3 positions from the guys behind him by remaining on circuit with these worn tyres. I think now, with how late it is in the race, his best bet is to stay out as long as it's not causing him to face the wrong way on circuit. It's just gonna hinder him too much to come down pit lane.
Okay, so we've got a 3-way battle between 12, 13 and 14. So Toby Ketterer, John Patterson, Ollie McGowan. John Patterson was ahead of these two. So Toby Ketterer has got past, and now John is feeling the pressure from Ollie McGowan.
Yep, where will McGowan go? Looks to the inside here, but backs out of it. Of course, it's very long left-hander. Yeah, of course, we saw that they go 3 wide earlier on, 3 different cars, and it certainly didn't pay out for all of them. So, remaining in line. But now McGowan looks to the outside.
John went a little bit wide, didn't he?
Yeah, Patterson just had to allow him through. There was nothing he could really do to fight back on that. A nice move from McGowan.
Yeah, potentially Ollie went a little bit wide there off circuit as he came out of the last corner. Oh, as the rear end goes a little bit loose on him. So John will be eyeing him up here, if you know, because that gives the other driver a little bit of confidence. You see a driver squirming out of corners, that gives you a little bit of a confidence boost that you can get past. So John will be looking to gain that place back immediately. If I was driving behind Ollie right now, I'd just sit behind here and make the move after a Rouge.
So it looks like he will be thinking that as well. He remains behind at the moment as they go across the timing line. They'll be picking up DRS, and he'll be able to have that advantage along Camel Straight. As they go through into turn number 1, we're almost into the final 10 minutes of running here. And that means we've only got 70 minutes of competitive racing left to go in the RDTCC this year. With the final round coming towards you in 2 weeks' time at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Will Lechner be able to win there as well? Because it looks like he's going to be on for a clean sweep this season, and he's on towards his 5th victory of the season. But he's still got 10 more minutes to hold it there. A nice buffer of 15 seconds between himself and Yakubu, though.
Yeah, so Robert Savingas is in 3rd position with quite a gap between him and Ishmael. Tobias Rayner in 4th, and Tom Lombart's in 5th, and Jeremy Moot currently in 6th. But I think Matt Legale is.
Oh, we've got a car stopped on El Rouge. Michael Klein is just at a standstill. That is a really weird place because he's got to have the brakes on, otherwise he'd be rolling back. So he's got to be sitting there just with the brakes on, deciding not to move anywhere. What? This is real strange. There you go. Now he rolls back and he is out. Very weird there. Don't even know what happened. It looks like the way that he's sitting on the edge of the circuit there, he's spun off and hit the wall and is bounced back on, because there's no way you'd get that angle without purposely pulling off the circuit and swinging back across.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Yeah, I don't. As Charles Baccio, who was a full second lap ago behind Matt Legale, has eaten away at that gap, and he's under a second. So I don't know if he will have DRS. Let's find out.
Gets to the top of our Rouge then.
He does.
Right, so that's good for him then, because he'll be able to close up towards Matt Legale, and even if he isn't able to make that overtake this lap, with just 9 minutes left in the race, doing it next lap will really, or even just sitting behind up until that final lap in the race, could still play to Baccio's advantage, because if he does it, waits till the final lap, which will only be in about 4 laps time, he'll then be able to take that position, and unless Matt's able to fight his way back through the rest of the lap, that's pretty much going to be Baccio's position.
As well, by the
3 of them, by the look of it.
Yeah. So there's a back marker in between these battles. I don't know who it is, but it's an Audi.
I think that's Jim Nobbs.
Jim Nobbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
I've just gone for the livery, what I saw in the distance as I ride on board with Baccio here. So
as he lets Ollie McGowan.
These two are really catching up quite feistily towards Jeremy Mook and Tom Lombards as well, when that could mean that these two, that might be why Baccio's not going for the overtake. He might decide to, let's remain behind, let's push each other and try to get higher up, because there's no point us two squabbling it for 7th or 8th when 5th is on the table.
Yeah, maybe, but that's not. It's Stephen Kenwood who's the back marker.
Right, Steve Kenwood sits in what position? P26.
He's the last runner, the final runner of the race.
In towards the braking points they go. Steve Kenwood is right in front of him. Hopefully he'll move out of the way as they go on towards the main straight. Will this give Matt Legale DRS? No, because he passes before the timing line anyway. But I'm not too sure if back markers do give you DRS like Formula 1. But out of turn number 1 they go. as they now head up towards Rouge. They've now got no cars standing in between themselves and that battle for P number 5. Of course, not really a battle, 1.5 seconds, but these guys could fly past Mook on massively worn tyres. He's definitely not coming down pit lane again.
And he's not got DRS, Matt, so the wing stayed shut. And
neither will Jeremy Mook or Tom Lombard. So that means that really they'll be able to catch up to the guys in front of them quite easily. And you can see Baccio certainly not pushing to try his hardest to get past Matt. I think he's going to remain behind up until that final lap. I really think that that's going to be Baccio's play here, because then he can get that position right at the very end, with Matt Legale having minimal chances to get back through.
Yeah, Charles had a little wobble coming out of that last corner, so he had did a little bit of correction on the steering wheel just to keep the car running straight. But yeah, Matt Legale is now just under 1.5 seconds behind Jeremy Mook with 6 minutes on the clock remaining. This is going to be tight. It's going to be tight.
Certainly is. Like you say, with only 6 minutes left to go. Look how close Baccio is onto the rear of Matt Legale, but he's still not even peeking out off the racing line. He is directly behind Matt, and he's not going for the overtaking. And I think this is a good strategy play to make right at the very end. He's sat behind Matt most of this race. He's now been able to close it up, and why keep on exchanging positions for the next 3 laps of the race when he knows that he can remain behind, give Matt absolutely nothing to work with, and then just get through at the very end? And I think that's going to be the best opportunity for him to really make it through, as they are now within 1.5 seconds of Jeremy Mook. I don't think they're going to be able to catch up to Lombards in 5th. I think that that's just a little bit out of their reach, but Jeremy Mook is definitely a position they can go for.
And as we go around the back part of the circuit, you've got Ollie McGowan is in 13th position, is closing in on Toby Ketterer in 12th as well. So he may make the same. I would make the same decision that Charles is doing in 8th behind Matt Legale. Just sit there pretty, just keep them within that 1 second and do it on the final lap.
Of course, in these longer races, definitely nearer the end, mind games definitely come into play, and you've got to sort of almost pressure someone into a mistake, or at least make them know exactly what you're doing, and they just know there's nothing they can do to combat it. But yeah, looking at that battle between 12th and 13th, let's see if Ollie does in fact go for the move past Toby Ketterer, or he stays behind like Baccio is doing in his battle for 7th and 8th position. They're coming up now to the to El Rouge, and up they go up towards Camel Straight. The DRS will be opened from Ollie McGowan. Yep. Yeah, there you go, as they go on through in the slipstream as well. Closes up, but doesn't even look for an overtake there. Remains behind, so it looks like he's going to be waiting to the end of this race as well.
I think that's a smart decision with just under 4 minutes on the clock remaining. There's only really a couple of battles out on circuit. You've got Paul Fenwick down in 21st behind Roy Magnus, and then you've got this one we're watching, which is Ollie McGowan in 13th for Toby Ketterer, and then Charles Baccio in 8th, who's behind Matt Legale. So they're the only 3 battles on track, really. Everyone else has got over a second between them.
And that's what we've always seen, that pit stops have always changed things up in the races. And we've had that all season long. We've had that before in other seasons and in other series and just club events as well. Pit stops change absolutely everything. And it's opened up a number of the battles here. And the strategy calls that have been made, there's really one very strong strategy call that most people took. Pit at halfway, and then you can do a 50-50 split. The one that is different was Jeremy Mook, and of course, it doesn't look like that's paid out too much for him.
No, but I think he'll get a top 10 finish here, which I think he'll be happy with.
Oh, definitely. I feel like
Matt Legale overtakes a back mark. I think that's Mike McGeer who's just pulled off for him. So this is his opportunity now to. He's closing in. He's within that second. I think he'll have DRS when we cross the line. So let's just, as we go through Eau Rouge, let's see what happens with the rear wing.
Charles Baccio having a fight with Mike McGeer up Eau Rouge. Rouge does drop out the way. But did you say Matt Legale does have DRS then? Yes.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
But it looks like there, Charles Baccio did not. So is he now, he's decided to remain behind Matt, and it's completely blown up in his face almost coming into the end of this race.
That might be down to the back marker potentially getting in the way there, so just a bit unfortunate, I would imagine. So, but he's within a second. He's just on the edge of a second. So I think he'll be back there very, very shortly. As I think we're coming up on another back marker.
No, I don't think we are. This 4-car battle, the 4 cars you can see whilst we're riding on board with Charles Baccio, all of them
you
are
can
that
see
position.
Tom Lombards, right? Sorry, apologies. Yeah. Okay. So, so Charles Baccio there's already within under a second now. So this is very interesting. So Jeremy Mook in 6. We're currently watching. I'm currently on board with Charles Baccio in watching him kind of hunt down Matt Legale, who's hunting down Jeremy Mook. This is what we tend to find.
Legale's run slightly wide there, and in fact that's allowed Baccio to get right onto the tail once more. And with only 1 minute and 25 seconds remaining, Lechner's just started a new lap about 30 seconds ago. I think they'll get one more lap after this. If not, next lap will be the final lap. I'm not too sure. How long is a lap here for these guys? 2 minutes. This is going to be the final lap. These guys are going on to the final lap. Oh, it'd be very close at least.
Ferdinand Lechner's currently...
well, he's got a minute on clock and he's got about 1 minute and 2 seconds of the lap remaining. So I'm going to watch him if you want to keep an eye on that battle before. Yeah. But it looks like this very possibly could be the final lap with Ferdinand Lechner. Looks like he is going to be, once again, your victor tonight as he's got 20 seconds in hand to Ismail Yakubu behind, and that means he's going to take 5 of 5 with only 1 round remaining in the series. And Lechner continues to win every single league race in 2018 here on the race department sites, on the Touring Car Championship as well as the Grand Prix Championship, which finished in January. He was able to take the victories in that as well, but he's coming up through with only 10 seconds on the clock. This is going to be the final lap of the race then. Ferdinand Lechner is going to win. Well, as Lechner goes through, he is going to win. We're going to go back to that fight though, because this is the fight of the race for P number 5.
DRS just down the back, down the straight after Eau Rouge, and Charles has kind of dropped off a little bit, so it's between, you know, Tom Lombards, Jeremy Mook has been closing down, Matt Legale has then been closing down. So both Jeremy and Matt Legale had DRS. So this is really, really close as we come around to the back section of the circuit.
Yep, the session has now reached its checkered state, and that means these guys know it's the last lap of the race. Lombards has pulled a little bit of a gap ahead of Mook. Legale is going to be trying his hardest, and he is surely going to go for an overtake up towards Blanchimont. Mook's going to try his hardest to defend from that, because I think Lombards is now pulled it to a safe distance of half a second. Here goes Legale onto the outside, because Mook holds the inside line up through Blanchimont. There's a little bit of a tap. There's even more contact, but they remain facing the right way. Matt Legale cannot make it on the outside as Mook makes his car as wide as possible. They come up towards the braking point. Matt Legale looks to the inside, but Mook goes to the outside of Tom Lombards. There's a little bit of a tap. Mook wobbles. Matt Legale is around. Charles Baccio goes through. Tom Lombards takes 5th. Jeremy Mook in 6th. Charles Baccio is going to take 7th, or is he? He's going to allow Matt Legale through up to 7th. Charles Baccio down to 8th.
Well, as we know, I don't think that was really Charles's fault, though, was it? I don't think that was...
No, that was certainly not Charles's fault.
No,
he wasn't involved in that. I think it's because those guys have been racing together, and I think Charles knows that Matt has almost been boosting him up the standings. He's decided, yeah, you're going to have this. You're going to have that position, because think about it. Charles Baccio has only just joined the championship. Matt Legale's been here all season.
Chasing down Joel Kuzman, and Dan Long is right alongside him as we come along the start-finish straight. Dan Long, Ollie McGowan gets 15th, just gets 15th. That was close.
Extremely close indeed, and we'll see the exact positions between them right now. Ferdinand Lechner, victory then ahead of the rest of the field. Yakubu finishing in 2nd once more from those two guys. Cedric Angus is 3rd in the championship, 3rd in the race, sorry, with Verona behind, and that means that was the order they'll be in the championship as well. Then followed behind is Lombards, Mook, Legale, Baccio, Borkstein, Davy van der Veen taking a top 10 in that in the end. Fournier, Ketterer, Patterson, Kuzman, McGowan, Long, Sternbury, Alvarez, Steve Legale, Magnus, Fenwick, Blasicek, Peterson, Nobbs, McGeer, Kenwood, and then retirements from Klein, Bonder, Boehm, Hurlo, Polgar, Garland, and Andrew Harper. Absolutely fantastic race, though, from that one. But what an end, that final chicane, a 4-car battle for P number 5, and it was Tom Lombards to come out on top. And I think, as I was saying before, Charles Baccio handed that position back because he was being pulled up that order from Matt Legale, and he's only just joined the championship. Matt Legale's been there from the off and is looking for a good position in this championship. So I think that's why Charles backs off.
Yeah. That's some great racing again tonight. And it's just when you watch these races, you know, they do evolve like the real thing, in the fact that, you know, there was close battles at the start. That, like you say, the pit stops occur, then it kind of makes the field spread out, and then as you come into the last part of the race, there are certain drivers that close up again, and it's trying to stay on top of it all. You know, as much as it is to see Ferdinand Lechner win again, when you're 15 seconds ahead of the next car, and then third is 15 seconds behind second, we're not really watching what's going up there. We want to watch these close little battles where you've got this midfield pack, and just unbelievable clean driving tonight. And what I found on that last lap there was, between those three, is Jeremy Mook had his DRS open as they were coming into a corner, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I mean, they both had the DRS. Matt Legale had his open as well, but I was expecting a huge incident at that particular point, which didn't happen. But obviously there was a little bit of contact into the final chicane, which is unfortunate, but it does happen from time to time.
Yeah, it is. But the fact that they did hold it going the straight direction, bearing in mind they were going through a corner with DRS, absolutely fantastic. But what an end to that race. And I mean, the contact that was made, because you could see what was happening there, that the fact that Mook looked towards the inside, then Legale's there, had a little bit of a tap, but you could see he just pushed too hard on the throttle. It wasn't that there was contact that forced him around. He just pushed too hard, and that's what then sent him around. And you could see Charles Baccio, there was no contact involved in that, but he backed out because he's not involved in the championship fight, and I can tell you that's exactly the reason he did that. But a fantastic job from all of the drivers once more, and that has just made me look forward to the final round even more. 2 weeks time, it's the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the hardest circuit in the world, in cars that really are quite difficult to drive there, because that circuit isn't a racing circuit anymore. You still have WTCC race there, but I don't think you'll ever really see DTM's race there competitively, because it is such a dangerous circuit. It's going to make it so interesting for the final round of this championship.
Yeah, we touched on it last time out, didn't we? Where you know, maybe 3 laps and then you've got a pit, and because it is such a large circuit, like tonight, when Jeremy Mook had that moment, he then immediately pitted. Now that's okay around a normal sized track, but if you've got to keep it on the black stuff at Nordschleife, because if you're 6 minutes away from pits, that's a long time to have to make your way back. It'll be interesting to see how that evolves. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a higher number of disconnects in that race.
I don't know. I feel like we had quite a high amount of retirements tonight, definitely near the opening stage, and I think that going into Nordschleife, people are going to take it easier. They know it's a very long race, but I think but before we've even got the race at Nordschleife, we've got qualifying. We're going to have over 30 cars head onto that circuit, but how many are actually going to place in a valid qualifying lap? I'm going to have to say less than 20.
Well, you think a lot of them would just sit qualifying out?
just skip it. Just go for whatever your championship position reverse. There you go. I think we should do that.
Right. You need to speak to the big man there, but yeah, no, yeah, it's an unusual choice, isn't it, for a league event? Wouldn't necessarily be one of my choices of circuits, but I think it does give us something different for this particular race. I think it will be, you know, there are a couple of sections where you could struggle just to get 2 cars alongside, let alone 3 like we've seen tonight and in previous races. The drivers are going to have to be that little bit more patient. But where are the DRS zones? Do you know?
Well, actually, in these, there are no DRS zones. You get DRS at the start of a lap, and you can use it a set amount of times each lap.
Right.
So they'll be able to use it wherever they want on circuit.
Where do you
make
use of DRS?
Well, easily. There are places that you can. I don't know the names of some of them, but you've got. First of all, I think the best location is. It would be heading up towards the carousel. You've got that really fast section where you're pretty much flat out all the way. It's a slight left into a slight right before you then hit your brakes. Yeah. I think that's a good section. The final straight, that massive long, I think it's like dotting your hoe or something like that. Really long straight. DRS definitely going to be used there. And I think it's 3 times you can use it. If so, the start-finish line up towards turn 1.
Yeah, dotting home. That's it. Down the start-finish straight before you hit that kind of tiny chicane. Then you've got the start-finish even. Yeah, I know the bit you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the longest straight on the whole circuit, isn't it? Yeah.
That certainly is, and I think it's one of the longest straights on a in a circuit.
Yeah, because a lot of cars, well, I've raced, in other games, you generally hit the limit of what the car's able to do.
Oh yeah, you're going to in this DTM, you are going to, and I think that really with that DRS open, you're gonna be able to get the advantage to it at the very beginning, but are you going to go much faster near the end of the straight when you're at the limit of your car? Are you still going to be able to gain advantage of that? But you've got to be careful when do you close DRS, because that just at the end of Docking the Hoe, you've got that obviously that kink left and then the right left into that really slow section. When do you decide it's enough of DRS, because otherwise I'm going to spin it? But that's obviously for the drivers to decide. So then,
just a bit of news for you before we leave.
Yeah,
Patrick Fournier had a drive-through.
Right.
Because the game says he cut the pit entry doing 60 kilometers per hour, and he got off drive-through.
That is a real shame for Patrick Fournier, but he didn't finish too badly in the end with that.
No,
absolutely fantastic for him though. But amazing race indeed. Great battles up and down the field. If you want to take part in racing like this, just club events or even league events, be sure to head across to racedepartment.com and become a premium member. It's extremely cheap for the entire year. It's massively worth it. I hope you have enjoyed the broadcast. Be sure to hit that follow button to be notified when we go live next. I have been Joseph Wright. I've been joined by Paul Glover. Unfortunately, Peter Lee had some issues near the start of the stream, as so did we. But thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you in the next one of the Race Department Touring Car Championship 2018 in 2 weeks' time at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Good night.